The most important thing with creativity is understanding your boundaries. I think imperative is the immediacy of requirement. So you need to be creative very, very quickly. That boundary is the most exciting thing, because what that does is it means we understand digital can execute in that boundary so much faster than any other medium. We can do things through digital that we could never do through a print medium or an outdoor medium or a medium very similarly. Digital enables us to be the most creative we can be within that imperative timescale. I think there's a very careful balance. I think that speed is essential, because I think that you can be far more intelligent and show your intelligence through that ability to execute quickly. However, if you compromise the quality of the creative, as in you try to rush things, you can also damage there. So you have to make sure you balance things very carefully between that speed and the level of creativity you want to inject. I think in order to be intelligent, you need to show relevance, and I think you need to do that very quickly. So I think it's a combination of both of those things. PR and traditional marketing services operate very differently, and creative services operate very differently. I think fusing the two together creates something that is not as explored in the way that it really should be. Modern culture is very fast-paced. PR is at the centre of monitoring what is happening within the real world. Creativity, as in traditional creativity or marketing or design services, have always had more time to incubate. They look at a plan and a program. PR needs to be immediate. I think if we put the two together, we can actually produce content from a digital perspective that can invigorate that real-time conversation. So it could be predicated on news or something that's emerging and happening very quickly. We at Lewis are looking at different ways we can exploit this. So for example, if a news piece drops first thing in the morning, by lunchtime we can have a creative piece that will go along to accompany that. It could be diagrammatical, it could be a contextual visual that sits alongside it, but people's appetite to consume content doesn't just exist in the written copy, it also is a requirement that they see something visual or even something that they can experience or engage with. I think there's an absolute connection between what's going on in PR and search. If you think about people's behavioural patterns, what they're doing is they're consuming vast amounts of content on the go very, very quickly. They'll see snippets of a news story that they may have seen first thing in the morning. If you're not fully optimised from your web search point of view, if somebody goes to find more information about that and you're not appearing quickly, you're losing relevance. Immediately you're behind the curve. You need to be up and running within the day, and your website needs to be optimised in a way that can deliver the content that's relevant to the audience's search as fast as physically possible. Essentially what you have is two different competing methodologies, because on one hand you've got the immediacy of content, its availability to be very quick. You also have more marketing driven requirements, which is once you get someone to a site, you want the site to be sticky, so you create a richer experience. They're actually against each other, because the greater, richer experience will tend to take longer to load. In a mobile scenario, you need to be there straight away. You cannot wait. That drops your SEO ranking, it will actually damage your search results. So you really need to make sure that content is optimized in a way that delivers fast as possible. I think there's a great opportunity to use the digital ecosystem in a far more sophisticated way. We think about creativity in isolation in one particular execution. It may be a story, it may be a banner placement, or it may be a microsite. The reality is by fusing two of these elements together, we can actually be creative within the whole spectrum of the digital ecosystem. So say, for example, a story drops that has a comment by one of our clients here at Lewis. What we can do is also look at the space that sits around that, so we could actually deliver banner advertising in real time with relevance to the context, the story that's being articulated within the piece. What we have to understand is that the appetite of audiences now is to get an experience that's different as quickly as possible. In order for a brand to show its real value and show its intelligence, it needs to understand where the opportunity is, how quickly you can get to that opportunistic moment, and also how creative you can be in that moment. And I think that that's about fusing different aspects of a digital ecosystem. Now that could be everything from the way in which you engage with an audience, say for example in a social channel, the type of story you're telling on your website the moment they arrive at it, but more importantly how you can be even cuter and more more scalpel-like with your approach as opposed to it being more of a blunt instrument. Think about a single moment in time, a story that is going to go out in a journalistic or media, and actually how you can use a space around it. Fill it with banners that are related to that content, that story piece that's being told. We can think ahead of time as well. We don't just have to react, we can be proactive about it as well. We can think about a process of storytelling throughout the year. We can see where those opportunities lie, and think about the digital ecosystem we can place around it to support it and give a new experience that people haven't experienced previously. B2B will never be dead. I think the concept of B2B, and I think perhaps even the term could do with dying, because I think that B2B conjures up a belief of suits and ties, and when you engage with each other in an office, it must be in a formal dress. I think B2B, as we all know, is evolving so dramatically. You're seeing more and more B2C type behaviours bleeding into the work environment. The reason for this is because year on year, Google have already posted that the decision maker within a B2B organisation is becoming more than a year younger every year that passes. So we're talking about an age that is moving through each one of the generations, hurtling towards the millennials, or Generation Z is not what will be in sort of 4 or 5 years' time coming into the workplace. I think it's important to understand that our appetites as consumers, whether we're in a B2B audience in a scenario or whether in a B2C scenario, exactly the same. We want to enjoy that experience and be pertinent to the environment that we're in and the information we're trying to gather. We see, as we do with suits and ties, they're actually being replaced by whatever dress is necessary to enable somebody to do the job in the most effective way they can. That is what we need to do with brands. Stop thinking about them as B2B or B2C even, just they're P2P. There's a very good TED talk actually on that, which you should look up. I think no matter what your background, where you come from, what your experiences are, you can instantly be creative. You only have to have 2 different points in order to create something. The more experiences you have, that's the thing that defines how creative you can be. Actually, also, your experiences can influence the way in which you are creative. So if you think about the people that work within my team, I can distinctly tell who has created what the moment I see a piece of work. I think that's a beautiful thing, because not only are they answering the requirements of a brand, they're also putting a little piece of their own brand into it as well. And I think that's important in creating a very well-rounded team as well, is having lots of people with different varying experiences.